Good morning, Meridian. On behalf of the Government Affairs Committee and the Board of the Meridian Chamber of Commerce City Council Candidate Forum, my name is Sean Evans, I'm President and CEO of the Meridian Chamber. I'm joined today in the program by Teddy Feinberg, Managing Editor of the Idaho Press Tribune, and Carolyn Kometsulis, reporter for the Idaho Press Meridian Press. We will be your moderators today for the program. During these important elections in our community, the Chamber wants to be sure and address the issues from the business community point of view with each of the candidates. The forum will do just that today. The topics and issues that we'll be covering today are those that directly impact the businesses in our community. Meridian is a vibrant and prosperous community that's seen tremendous growth in recent years. The community has more than tripled since 2000. The economic advantages for doing business in Meridian continue to grow. Being the center of the Treasure Valley has positioned the community to welcome new startup businesses, as well as businesses relocating from other parts of the state and out of state. How the City Council will continue to address issues like growth, transportation challenges, redevelopment of downtown, and public safety are important topics to the business community. All 6 candidates that are running for City Council were extended an invitation to join us today. We were joined by 5 of them. Each candidate will have an opportunity to make a 2-minute opening statement and a 1-minute closing remark. The questions today will be posed by our partners with the Idaho Press and Meridian Press. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer each question during the allotted time. Depending on time, there may be follow-up questions for a specific candidate or an additional question on topic. If a follow-up question is asked, then of a specific candidate, then their opponent for that seat will be given the same opportunity to respond. We're going to try and cover several topics in our hour-and-a-half time frame, so please keep your responses concise and on topic. Questions from the online viewers can be submitted using the comments section of the social media platform that you're viewing it from. Our moderators will be monitoring the comments and bring those questions in that are appropriate to the topic if time allows. Please keep your comments civil and related to the issues facing the business community. Now we'll hear from each of our candidates for City Council in their opening remarks. We're going to start with the candidates for Seat 2, and joining us today is Joe Borton. Joe, you got 2 minutes, sir. Take it away.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you to the Meridian Chamber of Commerce for participating in this candidate forum, and to Teddy and Carolyn with the Idaho Press and Meridian Press for participating as well. I appreciate you providing this outlet and outreach for our community. My name is Joe Borton. I'm currently a Meridian City Council member in seat number 2, seeking re-election for that seat. I've been in Meridian for quite some time. I run a business in Downtown Meridian that I own, and for over 20 years have been actively engaged here in the Meridian business community. My wife Sharon and I have raised our boys here in town. They've now grown up through West Ada schools, and they're all off into the adult world. And I've been involved with the business community and active from the start, first with the Chamber of Commerce, quite frankly. Back, it was 20 years ago that I was president of the Meridian Chamber of Commerce. And that service through the Chamber and the business community started in the 90s, and it's continued on into my service with the City Council. So I eagerly await the questions. I appreciate the chance to talk about business-specific matters that the City Council has to deal with. And I appreciate you sharing my perspective and answering the questions from the panelists in the community. So thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Joe. Also running for seat 2 is the candidate Hunter Wolf. Hunter was unable to join us today, so we'll move on to candidate for seat 4, Treg Burnt. Treg, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you. My name is Treg Burnt. I'm the current City Council President, Meridian City Council. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting the event. Thank you, Sean. Thank you to your staff and for the Chamber membership. Also to Carolyn and Teddy for asking the questions, the hard questions. Not too hard, though, promise me. I know a lot of the people that will be tuned in to this forum. Over the years, we've worked together. We've collaborated together. We've participated in ribbon cuttings together, and we've attended the same events. At the City of Meridian, we've always valued the Chamber. I believe that the Chamber and its organization is one of the most important organizations in the City of Meridian. We've recognized that role that you play in our community, and we appreciate it. Because of this collaboration, Meridian continues to attract family wage jobs. Our economy is strong, our unemployment is low. To highlight a recent win that I'm grateful for, the Chamber took over the Meridian Downtown Business Association, and that will be a real big win for downtown. At the end of the day, you know who I am. You've seen my leadership in action at the city, and I would like to continue this leadership role for another 4 years. Again, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Treg, for joining us today. Also running for seat 4 is Adam Nelson. Adam, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Sean, and thanks to Carolyn and Teddy and Meridian Chamber for getting this forum together. My name is Adam Nelson. I'm running for seat 4. I'm an Idaho native. I moved to Meridian in 1995. I started a family and worked construction trades as a younger person. My wife, Kelly, and I have been here ever since, and we put a couple of kids through the Meridian School District, and we started our racing business back in 2003. We operated racetracks in Eagle outside of Firebird. We also ran the Douglas County Speedway in Roseburg, Oregon. We had the contract to run the Shasta Speedway in Northern California. Since 2009, Kelly and I, along with a couple of partners, have been operating the Meridian Speedway under a lease through the Meridian Dairy and Stock Shows. My father, Leroy, he ran the Speedway back in the 80s, along with some other businesses in Meridian. My grandfather, Bill Crow, promoted the Meridian Speedway in the 60s and 70s and opened Bill's Frontier Club on Broadway in 1973. My grandmother continued as the owner-operator of Bill's Frontier Club until the sale in the early 90s. The Meridian Speedway is a legacy member of the Meridian Chamber of Commerce, and our family is vested in the continuing success of Meridian business. I plan to invest my time in continuing that success for all of Meridian.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate you joining us today. Next up, we have the candidates for seat 6. Please welcome Luke Kavanagh.
Great. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, everyone, for attending. And just a secondary thanks to the Chamber Board, the Government Affairs Subcommittee, and really the Meridian Press. It's so important in this time in our country, in our community's history, to have a strong local newspaper. And I'm just really appreciative that the Meridian Press has taken an interest in this event. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luke Kavanagh. I'm currently the City Council member sitting in seat 6, running for another term. I'm really looking forward to this forum and having the opportunity to share a little bit about my platform and vision for our community. A little bit about me. I've grown up in Meridian. I love our community. I'm what they call a boomeranger. So I grew up here. When I graduated from high school, I moved away and I returned to grow and start my family in 2007. In fact, the very first community event I attended when I returned was the Chamber Christmas party. I have a great deal of admiration and respect for the Meridian Chamber. In 2008, during the recession, the Chamber took on a phrase of "the energy is in Meridian." And I believe that is more true today than it's ever been. So I'm really looking forward to participating in this forum. My wife, Adrian, my 2 boys, Gunnar and Lincoln, love Meridian and really wanting to maintain that same quality of life that we are all proud to call Meridian. Looking forward to the questions, and thanks everyone for your participation.
Thank you, Luke, for joining us today. And next, running for seat 6 is Michael Hahn. Michael, welcome today.
Well, thank you, Sean, and thanks for the Chamber and Idaho Press for putting this on. My name is Mike Hahn. I am a 30-year plus resident of the Treasure Valley. I moved here back in '91 and thought I'd just stay a year, and now here it is 30 years later. I've raised a family here, 2 Broncos and a Ute, so you don't hold that against me. One of my kids graduated from Meridian Medical Arts Charter High School, as well as my youngest just graduated from Renaissance and is now down in Utah. My background is I'm an electrical engineer as well as I have an MBA, and the B is the operative word, business. I have an extensive corporate America background in business development, as well as have been. I've been a licensed real estate broker since 2005, so I've seen the market go up, down, and now up again. I look forward to serving and listening to the people of Meridian, as well as serving and listening to the business community in Meridian. So thanks again. Thank you very much for this opportunity to potentially serve on the Meridian City Council.
Thank you, Mike. Once again, we appreciate all of you for joining us today. We kind of touched at the beginning of the program the topics that we're going to cover. So let's get straight to them. So we got plenty of time to cover these. Our first topic today is on how to manage the growth of Meridian. Meridian has transformed from a small rural suburb of the state capital to the second largest city in the state and one of the fastest growing in the nation. For a city growing so quickly, some may ask, are we prepared to handle this growth? Asking the questions today, once again, is Caroline and Teddy from the Idaho Press. I'm not sure who's going to take that first question that we have queued up for our candidates, but take it away, Caroline.
Yeah, so everyone's going to answer this question, but Mr. Borton, you are going to answer first. So the question is, does the City of Meridian's comprehensive plan meet the needs of the future? Why or why not?
Thanks, Carolyn. The quick answer is it does. And part of the reason why our comprehensive plan does a great job of meeting the needs of the city, not only now, but in the future, is the manner in which it was created. We take a lot of pride, not only in the final product, but in the process that we utilize to get there. You might recall, and many of the viewers and listeners might recall, seeing charrettes and boards up in our parks and our City Hall Plaza over the last couple of years as we developed, through community input, our new comprehensive plan. And we spent a lot of time, very purposeful time, gathering input, going out to the outskirts of our city and into our city core to get the input of what our citizens would like to see as we grow over the next 10, 20, 30 years. So that's the first part of the puzzle. The second part that we must adhere to is then long-term planning. And primarily that's long-term capital planning for the infrastructure and kind of the inner workings of a city, from public works to public safety, to then meet the needs of what that plan says. So I think that process has been very successful, and it bodes well for Meridian's future going forward.
Thank you. Next up on the same question is Treg Burnt. Treg.
Thank you. That's a great question. Are we prepared for growth in the city of Meridian? The answer to that question is absolutely. Joe spoke about the comp plan earlier in his comments, and I actually sat on this committee along with engaged citizens from our community, the development community, area partners, which include the Meridian Chamber of Commerce. I believe Sean sat on that committee, and with other area partners and also city staff. And in that process, we delved real deep into where we wanted to grow as a city, where our city services are, where our city services are going, because we don't want leapfrog development where we are growing in areas of town where we don't have current city services. We've set our sights on two areas of our community, which are the southwest portion of our city and the northeast portion of our city. We recently approved fire stations for these two areas, along with a police precinct in the north. And so going forward, that's where you're going to see growth taking place in our city. I believe our council has done a great job preparing us for this momentum, and I believe going forward, you're in good hands with the leadership that we currently have going forward.
Thank you, Treg. Mr. Nelson.
Yes,
your
thank
response
you.
to this question.
Interestingly enough, Mike and I met with Cameron Ariel from community development. He's the director of community development. We had a great conversation with him, and we were assured that the current comp plan, which is 2 or 3 years old, is the best that Meridian's had in a long time. So we're assured by him being resolute in those comments. However, we're being new to the race and new to the the political part of Meridian. I'm really looking forward to spending some more time getting a better overview of all the topics that Trey covered, and some of the things that may or may not affect smaller Meridian business. So at this point, things look pretty good, and I'm real proud of Meridian. I'm just interested to get another look at where the future is heading for us.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Next up on the same question, Mr. Kavner.
Thanks, Sean. The short answer is yes, is that our current comprehensive plan was designed specifically to meet our current needs. And what I think is really great about our comprehensive plan is it gives greater teeth to the council to act, greater predictability to our citizens, more uniformity in how we develop. The important part is that it's not written in concrete, meaning we don't have to follow this plan for time and eternity. If Meridian continues to grow at the level that we have been, it'll be incumbent upon a future council to make the same decision our previous council did, which was to update that comprehensive plan earlier. We have to be responsive, not just to the growth in Meridian, but to the growth in the region. I think our comprehensive plan does that today, but I'm committed to also making revisions and updates should this level of growth continue.
Okay, Mr. Kavner, thank you. Mr. Hahn.
Yeah, so like Adam said, not only have we met with the folks at community development, but also with fire and police. And, fortunately, it looks like from a surface level, we do have infrastructure covered for all this growth that, we're expecting. And of course, as things move forward, things always change. You have a plan that you've set in stone, and, even more people show up. But as far as the plan, as it sits now, yes, it probably meets the requirements down the road. But, in areas such as fire, where, we are building a lot of apartments, do we need more ladder trucks, especially in the downtown corridor? And as far as police goes, do we have enough police coverage for, the expected growth, in the downtown area with all these apartments? So, you make a plan and you hope for the best. And as things move forward, things change. So is it set in stone? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it really depends on what happens down the road.
Thank you, Mr. Hahn. Teddy, Caroline?
Thanks, Sean. So second question here. We understand affordable housing has really risen to the forefront here in the Treasure Valley in recent years. With that as the backdrop, how does the City Council help meet the need for affordable housing and workforce housing in the City of Meridian? And Mr. Burnt, we are starting with you on this one.
Great question. Hey, thanks, Teddy. Just as an example of where I believe our council and our leadership has met the needs of workforce type housing, which I believe is extremely important going forward. I mean, I believe that a diversity of housing is extremely important as well, just not 1 acre lots and not apartment buildings, but you've seen in the last little while, you've seen townhomes spring up. You've seen multifamily housing. You've seen single family dwellings, attached and detached. This is all extremely important because at the City of Meridian, believe it or not, we're a diverse city, and we need to meet the needs of our citizens. One great example of affordable housing that we've worked on is a development that's happening downtown Meridian with the Old Town Lofts with Pacific Companies and November Whiskey. They have specifically targeted workforce housing, type housing. And what I mean by that, I don't mean affordable type housing. I'm just talking about housing that's affordable to those who are working downtown. This is a great example of what we need to be doing going forward in order to attract jobs and businesses in our community, so people don't have to get in their cars and go to other communities. But I do believe that the diversity of housing is extremely important, and we've done a great job at the city with that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Burt. Mr. Nelson, same question.
Yeah, I think that Meridian is blessed with a plethora of different types of housing. We've seen specific types of housing in apartments and different things springing up all over the place. I'm hoping that the city council has approved all of those apartment buildings in an effort to keep that equal mix of housing, whether it's the single family dwellings and the townhomes and et cetera. But I just I'm curious and I'm cautious that potentially that scenario could continue to increase without the adequate public safety, with infrastructure and et cetera, being at the same, increased or adequate to the same rate as some of these things are being built. So I definitely think the mix is great, and we have a very diverse citizenship here, and it'd just be nice to take a look at it from my perspective, to take a look at it and see if there is anything that is out of whack as far as how often these things are being approved.
Thank you. Mr. Kavner.
Thanks, Sean. I think the best thing the City of Meridian can do to help combat the high cost of home ownership is to support diverse housing options. And Council President Burnt touched on this, and that is big houses on big lots, small houses on small lots, small houses on big lots, apartments, condos, townhouses. As we grow as a community, having more diverse options really disrupts the marketplace and makes it much more affordable for people to get the type of home that they want to purchase. The other thing that I think that is important that the city could look to do is taking a look at our code and maybe exploring some options that would allow tiny houses to exist. One of the things that I really struggle with is that I meet families that have wanted to choose to live in Meridian and can't get qualified for a mortgage that comes with a $1,500 a month payment. And so they find themselves renting an apartment or a house at $1,600, $1,700, $1,800 a month. That doesn't allow Meridian families to succeed. So we, I think, as the city, have got to work with the private sector to find the right options that can allow people to live and grow in Meridian. And I think that we've done some really good things, but I think there's some options, particularly in the code section, that we could explore to better adapt to the growing and changing marketplace.
Thank you, Mr. Kavner. Mr. Hahn, your response on the same question.
So, Meridian is a victim of its own success, right? We read all this stuff in the USA Today and in various media outlets about how wonderful a place Meridian is to live. People read that, and guess what? They move here. So then you have a supply and demand issue, right? I'm a capitalist like everyone else, and I'd love to build smaller homes for individuals who can't afford a big home on a 1 acre lot or a half an acre lot. But there's still demand. There's still going to be demand for those smaller homes, and demand is going to dictate price. So what can the city do? Yeah, you could build more smaller homes, but the more people that move here, those prices are going to go up too. So, at the end of the day, like for instance, this old lofts, downtown lofts, the developer himself has decided that, yes, he is going to, put those out at a lower than market rent. And that's his decision. And that works for his model. So, again, it's up to the private sector to determine if they want to meet that model or if they're purely profit driven. So, affordable housing is a difficult question to answer, because affordable to who, right? So,
Mr. Hahn, if I might, just to follow up on that,
Sure.
Our businesses are telling us that labor shortages is one of the biggest issues they face, and translating that affordable housing is one of the key factors to that is people cannot afford to live here and work here. We used to be able to pull in people from Canyon County to work in Meridian or in Ada County, but housing costs there have gotten high too. Do you not needing to take some steps to address the issue for businesses that are having some labor shortages due to housing costs?
You dropped out there again. Can you repeat the question?
So do you not see the city needing to take some steps to help with the labor shortage issue related to affordable housing?
Well, so what's the options here? Does the city then subsidize housing for the workforce? I don't know. I don't know if that's the place of the city to do that. Is the city can certainly upzone different parcels for higher density so that when a developer builds something out, I mean, the developer, they're focused on density. The more units they can get on a property, the better for them, obviously, whether it's condos or apartments. So it's potentially the city council being in control of some of that. They can upzone things for more affordable housing, if that's the right solution.
Mr. Kavanagh, your opportunity to respond.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. And I think it comes back to, it's important that we have candidates that understand our comprehensive plan and understand how local government functions. On this particular question, I think I've addressed it, but it just comes back to working with the private sector to address those issues as they arise on an organic basis.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kavanagh. Caroline?
Yeah, so our next question, we are going to start with Mr. Nelson. So should the
Caroline, you're muted. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
My bad. Okay, the next question it's for Mr. Nelson, or you can start with you. It's, should the City of Meridian use reserves to advance the road projects for the community to help with traffic issues?
Reserve what budgets? What did you say? Please repeat that.
Sorry, it's, should the City of Meridian use reserves to advance the road projects for the community to help with traffic issues?
Did you say reserves?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. One, I don't believe that the city council has any kind of power over the roads and schools. So one, I don't believe that the city can use reserves to work on roads or make adjustments directly. I don't know if using reserve funds for anything, if they're reserve funds, they're reserved for something in particular, or maybe earmarked for something in particular. So I don't know that using reserve funds, because you're just defunding something that is already planned for. So I think that you could probably take the projects that those reserve funds are earmarked for and maybe look at the traffic scenarios that are affected by them and in that manner. But personally, I don't think that that's something that can be done.
Caroline, you want me to answer next? You're Sean. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I'm happy to answer too.
Sorry, I'm having some connection issues here. I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Luke, your response on that question.
Great. So in short, yes, for the right projects at the right time, if we have the right amount of reserves. So currently, right now, the City of Meridian has about $30 million in unallocated reserve dollars. I think that, a lot of conversations come up about infrastructure and how growth impacts it. Things like police, parks, fire, sewer, water, the things that the City of Meridian's in charge of, we're doing a great job of investing in that infrastructure before growth. Some of the challenges related to growth that we all experience are on our streets and roads and in our schools. I think that now is the right time, when the City of Meridian has funds available, to invest in roadway projects that serve to answer the challenges that growth have created. And I think a great example is the Linda Road overpass. The City Council has allocated $2.5 million in right-of-way purchase to get the Linda Road overpass built. Now, this project should have been built years ago. But I think that because the City of Meridian is stepping up loud with dollars in hands, we're advancing the momentum on that project, both with the highway district and the state. I think that's our biggest challenge, is that in Meridian, we're not in charge of our streets and roads. Adam touched on this. We're somewhat beholden to the highway district. But I also think it's important for us to think like the private sector and say, if we've got cash in hand, can we move these projects up sooner, faster, to respond to the needs of our community? So I'm in favor.
Thank you. Mr. Hahn, your response to the question.
Well, it's interesting. Adam and I met with Todd Lavoie yesterday, and we asked them the same question, because we heard this at the other forum about $30 million in unallocated funds. And, he kind of gave me when I asked him about this, is there really 30 million in unallocated funds? He kind of gave us a quizzical look and said, well, everything's pretty much allocated. You have a budget that goes out for 12 months, right? You're going to spend a certain amount of money on various things. They have a 10-year outlook, right? But in the next 12 months, things are pretty much set. Should the city be involved in building a road or advancing the road? Yeah. I mean, if it makes sense, obviously, right? But from a budgeting perspective, how do you get to that point? Well, something's got to give. You can't spend more than you've already budgeted, or you have to reallocate, reserves. So in a circuitous way, my answer is, yeah, if it makes sense, sure, let's take a look at it.
Thank you. Mr. Borton.
Thanks, Sean.
The same question.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's got to be pretty targeted, and it applies, and I guess it can really provide good help in very specific circumstances. And the one that we all use and benefited from this opportunity was Locust Grove Overpass. Years back, the city advanced funds to get that built much quicker than it was otherwise scheduled. Now we're stuck with trying to coordinate with other government entities, and one of the things we want to avoid is an opportunity to point a finger at another entity who, it's their job, not our job. But when there's the right project and the right opportunity for the city to light a fire under a project that's going to benefit the entire community and accelerate it, Locust Grove Overpass was a great example of that. Linda Road Overpass is a great example of that as well. So those are the types of infrastructure investments and partnerships where we can leverage our savings for great public good.
Thank you. Mr. Burnt.
My turn. I'm not going to lie. My fellow council members have targeted every part of my notes with regard to not a ton for me to elaborate on, but there is another example of a private-public partnership with a road widening project on Lake Hazel currently, right in front of our new Discovery Park between Eagle Road and Locust Grove. That's a great example where we allocated $100,000 to that project to widen that road. My opponent mentioned earlier that that was not possible, and I think that's another great example of how experience matters. It is possible. We've done it in the past. We'll continue to do it. Mr. Borton mentioned that we need to focus on targeted project, and I believe that to be the case as well. It's important to have a collaborative relationship with the Ada County Highway District, because ultimately they're the ones that have control over our roads. And thankfully, we do have a collaborative relationship with their commission and their upper leadership as well. So going forward, I'm open to discussing different projects and what that looks like for our city. Transportation is an issue, so we need to stay on top of it.
Thank you, Mr. Burnt. Caroline, Teddy, we still have a little bit of time left in this category. Do you have any follow-up questions for our candidates?
You got anything, Carolyn?
Yeah, I have been wondering, so the comprehensive plan does state that the city must guard against an abundance of subdivisions in similar and repetitive densities, appearances, and price ranges. How do you imagine that you will be able to guard against that abundance of subdivisions if elected or reelected?
Mr. Kavner.
Great.
A really, really awesome question, Carolyn. And I think it comes back to how we started this section. It's about following our comprehensive plan. It's about providing consistency and predictability to our citizens and to the private sector about where growth is going to occur and what it's going to look like. One of the things that I really appreciated about our new comprehensive plan is that it limits the amount of map amendments that we do. I think in the past, it was quite common for the public to be frustrated that they move into an area that they think is going to be, traditional single family houses, 4 houses on the acre. And 10 years later, they start to see a higher density. And that was maybe because a comprehensive map changed and it wasn't something they were quite aware of. I think as our current council, and again, following this current comprehensive plan, we have strong teeth and really resolute direction about when and how we grow. And I think that commitment, again, to the citizens and to the private sector shows where a density is going to be located, where traditional single family housing is going to be located, and where there's opportunities to do something innovative in a townhouse concept or an apartment concept.
Thank you, Mr. Kavner. Mr. Hahn. I can't hear Mr. Hahn. Can anyone else?
I can't.
Okay. Mr. Hahn, I think we're having some connection issues with you. We can see you, but cannot hear you. Okay. Still can't hear you. Sorry. You're muted now, so unmute. But I think it's a connection issue, Mr. Hahn. We'll come back to you, and maybe you can drop off and come back in. Let's go to Mr. Burt on that same question. Caroline, you want to summarize it?
I got it.
Okay, you got it. All right.
Yeah. Crazy, but I do pay attention every once in a while. Thanks for that question, Carolyn. The comp plan is extremely important. Comp plan. We're saying a lot about the comp plan, but I can't tell you how important it is. And it's important that we stay specific in the way that we will grow in the future. You'll see going forward, you'll see myself and other members of council stick to this plan in the decision-making process. It's because it's important for responsible growth. And in these cases, when it relates to different subdivisions and making sure they don't look the same and having a diversity of housing, this is where we really lean on our dedicated staff. I got to tell you, at the City of Meridian, we have excellent planners who do a great job, and they vet these. We have a planning and zoning commission. I sat on that commission many years ago. And so I was elected with that experience, so I know exactly what they see and how they do it. These projects are vetted very specifically before they even get to us. Our planners are the best in the business. And so they know what our comprehensive plan and our code and what we expect on council. So by the time they get to us, these projects normally, for the most part, make sense, and they're pretty good.
Thank you, Mr. Burnt. Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's just important to keep evaluating that comprehensive plan and making sure that housing initiatives aren't exceeding the infrastructure needs. We definitely don't, at least I don't want Meridian to become a high density city like San Francisco or Portland. So I think just keeping an eye on those things and making sure that we're not folding to this push for all of this high density so fast.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Hahn, back to you. Hopefully we've got some stronger connection for you now. Mr. Hahn? Still having some connection issues with Mr. Hahn. We'll try and get him back. We may have Mr. Hahn not use his video when he returns. That way it could save some of his bandwidth that he has. Let's move on to the next subject that we have. I'd like to, get everyone's opinion on our downtown area. The City of Meridian is the center of the valley, and Downtown Meridian is heart of our community. In recent years, the downtown has been the focus of redevelopment, and the city has led in this area. This is a topic of great interest, not only to the businesses located in the downtown corridor, but others looking to make Downtown Meridian their home. Let's see, Teddy, you're going to take this first question in this category?
That's a good segue here. So Destination Downtown's obviously been identified as an important vision document for continued growth and redevelopment of Downtown Meridian. So as council members, how would you help ensure the continued implementation of this vision along with the Meridian Development Corporation, the partnership with that group? And we are starting with Mr. Nelson on this.
Thanks. 2 in a row. I can appreciate. I spent some time listening to the state of the Downtown Meridian address or forum that happened 1st of October, and it was pretty enlightening. Our business thrives in Meridian, and I appreciate all the efforts by the city departments that make it easy to have and run a business like ours, and like the ones a little further downtown. I'm 100% interested to look at all the future proposals that are, coming in through that, for lack of a better term, that urban renewal scenario downtown. And I think I'm at this point, I'm in full support of the way that the groups have put those plans together to revitalize downtown and to make it the place to be. I mean, I spend most of my time down there during the day, and it's refreshing to see all that action and work that everybody's put forward.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Kavner, your response to this question.
I believe you're on mute.
Nope, we got you.
Sorry about that. Thanks. I don't think there's it wouldn't come as a shock to anybody that any of these people that are running don't love Downtown Meridian. I grew up in Old Town, Downtown Meridian's paperboy, served for a number of years on MDC, and was part of that vision document that came into Destination Downtown. One of the things that I think is really important is when we look at the timing of which that document was created. This was right on the heels of the recession, and it was very ambitious. One of the things that I think is really great is some of the changes that we've seen in downtown as a result of that. The investment with Old Town Lofts, the VRT building, the Keller building, and more projects to come. One of the things that I think is going to be really important is as the urban renewal district that the MDC oversees for downtown. As that continues to evolve, it would be important for the MDC to establish a 2.0 destination downtown before the URD.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Mr. Kavner. Would ask the participants to remember you are controlling your own microphones, so please mute yourself while others are speaking. Mr. Hahn, thank you for joining us back. Let's leave your video off and get your response to the question. Can you see the question, or can we repeat that for you? Oh, we lost Mr. Hahn again. Okay. Mr. Borton, we'll come back to you for this question.
Thanks, Sean. I've got a business and property downtown. I've been working downtown Meridian for over 20 years, just a couple of blocks from City Hall. So I've watched the progression from when Main Street was East First Street to creating the split corridor through downtown. And a couple of things that I've noticed that I think bodes well for downtown success is we have created some pretty intricate plans collaboratively with property owners about what the downtown should and shouldn't be. And then we've been pretty disciplined to make sure that we adhere to those plans. So there have been projects over the years that have been proposed and they just didn't meet the bar. And we didn't lower the standards, and we asked more of the private development community because we know downtown's special and you have one chance to make it right. And when we decided to locate City Hall in downtown, that was a very deliberate choice to support the heart of our community. And hats off to the private developers and landowners who are taking the risk to rise and meet the bar downtown. We've got great projects literally coming out of the ground right now. For everybody who's been down here, you can see it. It's very exciting, and it's due in large part to courageous private developers and staying disciplined to make sure we don't reduce our standards for a very special place in our community.
Thank you, Mr. Borton. Response.
I guess it's me. You were cutting out. I'm getting texts from people asking me to mute. I want to be crystal clear. I've been muted this entire time. So everyone knows my thoughts on Downtown Meridian. I mean, it was a priority platform for me 4 years ago when I ran. It's on my lit. It was on my lit that I'm handing out to the public when knocking doors. And this year, in my reelection campaign, it's a priority platform for me again. You know, people downtown are my people. You know, that's where my barbershop is. That's where my favorite restaurant is. I have dear, really close friends who are business owners downtown. And at the end of the day, I greatly appreciate everything that's going on downtown in our corridor, because I truly feel that the downtown corridor is the heartbeat of our city. We're going to go as far as our downtown corridor. And I'm extremely grateful because it's fueled by local business owners who care, who are investing their own money, who are taking their own risk. And that's, as a small business owner, that's a really big deal. I actually sit on as a board member on the Meridian Development Corporation. So I'm intimately involved in all these conversations. Twice a month we meet and we talk about all the things that are going on, what to look for, what our concerns are, what our challenges are, and we address these issues. Sean knows, he sits in those meetings as well. My opponent talks about how he sat down with Cameron Ariels in those two meetings as well, along with Tori from Economic Development. So we're very intertwined with our downtown corridor, and I'm grateful for it. I'm really grateful to be a part of it.
All right. Well, thank you all. We're still looking for Mr. Hahn to rejoin us, but we'll kind of move on to the next question. Caroline.
Yeah, absolutely. So continuing on this downtown track, do you believe the current ordinance for parking requirements for developers meets the needs in Downtown Meridian? And we are going to start, I believe we're starting with Mr. Hahn for this one, but he's not here. So Sean, who would you like to start?
Let's start with Mr. Kavner.
Great. Thanks for the question, Sean and Caroline. I think a short answer is probably no. I think that what we are seeing is that many folks are now choosing to call Downtown Meridian home, and we're seeing the rise of additional units coming available. The secret's out. Meridian, particularly Downtown Meridian, is a great place to live. And so I think that it's important that, again, as being a responsive government, as we continue to see an influx in residential opportunities, that we as a council, again, working with our transportation partners and our urban renewal partners, to take a look at our parking standards and guidelines. And I think that they're worthy of revision.
Thank you, Mr. Kavner. Next up, Mr. Borton, your response to that question.
Thank you. I know we've done studies in 04, 09, and just recently in April that looked at downtown parking capacity. And while there is sufficient capacity for parking downtown, there's also focused and orchestrated plans to add additional parking, which is going to include some parking garage components, which is new to our downtown. So those will help facilitate the ongoing challenge of parking. We want to be sensitive to our business community to make sure that we support those opportunities that can allow their employees and their customers to frequent their business.
Thank you, Mr. Borton. Mr. Hahn, do we got a good connection and sound with you now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Looks like it's a little delayed, but the question before the candidates right now is the current ordinance for parking requirements and new developments meet the needs of Downtown Meridian?
Well, I listened to the State of the State yesterday of State of the Downtown, and according to, I can't remember who was speaking, but apparently we're only at 50% capacity of parking downtown. But it seems to me that if you're building all these apartments and, you're going to have a community center with an amphitheater and maybe concerts, I don't think there's enough parking. Frankly, I think you need a parking garage. And I don't know if you guys talked about that while I was fiddle faddling around, but when, one of the big issues, like when I go down to downtown Boise, right? It used to be where you couldn't find parking. And if you want more people to come downtown for, if you happen to build a movie theater downtown, right now, as it stands, I don't think there's enough parking. But that remains to be seen down the road. So.
Thank you. Let's see. I think we addressed that with, no, Mr. Byrne.
Yeah, it's my turn.
Yes, sir.
Am I up? Can you guys see me?
Yes,
I'm
we
on.
can.
Okay, there.
You're on.
So as I've walked around downtown and I've talked to local businesses, I think that the thing they're talking about is that our current codes need to be enforced by our code enforcement. The problem is that you have people that are parking in front of businesses that aren't employees of these businesses, or maybe they're employees of other businesses somewhere in downtown, and they're not. And in doing so, it's not allowing parking for people who want to patronize these certain businesses. So I think that it's really important that we, with code enforcement, do a better job with making sure that we're enforcing our current code. We are at about 49% capacity with parking. What people don't realize is that there's public parking in the Keller building. There's public parking at Compass. There's public parking at the Masonic Lodge. And so you may need to walk a block or so, but there's plenty of parking currently in downtown Meridian. Another thing that was brought up earlier is code as it relates to development. And I can promise you that all of the development that we've approved in our downtown corridor meets code. If it didn't meet code, then they wouldn't be able to build, and in their development applications wouldn't have been approved.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, thank you. I think after looking through some of the businesses that are downtown and frequenting those businesses, we find ourselves, going to restaurants and parking a couple of blocks away. We've gotten used to that. It's part of a vibrant downtown. Definitely, some of these new developments. We're a lot of us are thinking that when is the parking garage going to happen if we're going to continue to be able to park more and more cars down in downtown Meridian. One of the things that comes up, or that we've learned, is with the downtown lofts and the 90 apartment buildings that are being built right there, and there's 90 parking stalls assigned, to those residents. So that's one car per family in that particular building. And it doesn't include with those numbers, it doesn't include the commercial businesses that are planned to be on the lower levels. And where are those customers and those employees going to park? I do agree that a downtown feel is going to have off-site parking, and I think the city has been looking at those solutions. But the question is going to be, when is that parking garage going to happen, and why has it not been something that has been expedited? Because it's not going to take long to use up the other 51% of the parking right there in downtown.
Okay. We have a little bit of time left. I'd like to, yes, Mr. Borton.
Sean, just real quick for the viewers, one of the things that when we talk about Meridian success, it's due in large part to the employees, quite frankly, that make the city run. And to this question, one of our outstanding employees is Miranda Carson. Some of you may know her, but there's an April 2021 parking study and code analysis that's available. It's a white paper done in conjunction with the Boise State extern office that provides great data. It's the objective data that's been referenced in this answer that talks about in a particular downtown study area, what parking is available, on street, off street, and it talks about some suggestions on how to improve parking for downtown. So for any of the candidates and members of the public, that's a great white paper done by some excellent employees at the City of Meridian.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Borton. Good. Just kind of follow up on the downtown discussion of development. Mr. Hahn, this question will start with you. The destination downtown blueprint for downtown, the city and even some of the developers have been very strategic in the type of businesses that they're looking to recruit to downtown. What type of businesses would you like to see in the Meridian downtown core? Mr. Hahn.
We had this discussion over lunch yesterday with Cameron Ariel. I'd like to see a movie theater because I compare it to the downtown of Caldwell. I've got a development project going on in Caldwell, close to downtown. I hadn't been out to Caldwell in 10 years, a few years ago, but they've done a fantastic job of redeveloping their downtown. The plaza, you could skate in the wintertime. They got the restaurants around there, and they have a movie theater. So there's a reason, for people to go to downtown Caldwell, go watch a movie, have dinner, go ice skating, or in the summertime with the kids playing in the water sprays. So if we could have something similar to that in our downtown area, because frankly, it's downtown is growing, right? But is there, given a choice for a lot of people, they have a choice of going to the Village at Meridian or downtown. So, obviously there's competition. So I think you have to have some kind of feature downtown that says, hey, I will go downtown to do X, Y, and Z.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hahn. Mr. Borton.
Thank you. I am downtown. So I use and I think some of the attractions are already here. It's only growing. Whether it's the city park, whether it's going to Unbound and utilizing their services. We use their conference room for meetings. We frequent the restaurants. Insurance is down here. Our architects down here. So there's a lot already down here that's driving demand. I think that's just going to grow. Really, the focus that I think a city council member has to have is on creating a uniform and fair landscape that allows private development to flourish. And you minimize regulation where you can, make it easy to do business in downtown. You minimize the expense of doing business in downtown. And you will see private business flourish with what the market demands. So any and all of it, I think, is fantastic. Whether it's a restaurant, an office, a movie theater, we'd love it. As long as it meets Meridian's high standards that our citizens deserve, it's an exciting time the next 5 to 10 years in downtown Meridian.
Thank you, Mr. Borton. Mr. Byrne, what type of business do you envision for downtown Meridian?
That's a great question, and I'm grateful for all the attention that we're giving to our downtown corridor. First, I think the most important business that we can get to our downtown area are local businesses, and Joe spoke about it a ton. We were talking about whether they're restaurants, they're bars, barbershops, insurance, whatever the case may be, real estate agencies. Local business is what's going to fuel our downtown corridor, and because local business owners care, right? When times are bad and change, they look at their bottom line and they don't see it, they leave. A downtown business owner, they have invested sometimes their entire life savings to downtown, and so they're not going to go anywhere, and they're going to fight like heck to be able to make it work. And so that's the reason why I think that local businesses not only fuel our entire economy in the city of Meridian, but are very important to our downtown corridor. So that's the type of business I'm looking for.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, I will echo some of the other candidates. We frequent downtown a lot. We love the Idaho block. We love the restaurants. We love the little shops. We love all of the things that are happening down there. As you frequent downtown over and over, you just look at some of these storefronts and some of these things that are available, and can use your imagination at some of the different and creative things that could be down there, to widen that experience. And I think a diversity of restaurants is certainly one of those things that brings people down. You're going to go have dinner and you want to go try the new place because you've been to this place and this place, and then you compare them and you say, I can't wait to get back to the next place next Friday night. So I think the entertainment value and sometimes some people's entertainment value is frequenting different restaurants. And I think those are going to be key to Downtown Meridian.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kavner.
Thanks, Sean. Happy back cleanup on this. I think it's always easy when you want to spend other people's money to say, this is what I want. Whether it's a movie theater or something else. I think it's important that the types of businesses that we need in Downtown Meridian are successful businesses. That means it's diverse and well-rounded. Yes, we've got some great restaurants, some great entertainment options, but we've also got some really amazing service businesses as well. Great businesses like the Angry Easel, Meridian Watch Repair. Okay, these are destination locations that are pulling people from across the region into our downtown. I think continuing to have a clear pathway for businesses to find and grow and succeed in Meridian with their customers, that's when we're going to find success. And it's got to be well-rounded. So it can't just be entertainment. It just can't be restaurants. It's also got to be other services, commercial, as well as staying focused on that residential component as well. If we do things well-rounded, we're going to continue to find great success in Downtown Meridian.
Thank you, Mr. Kavner. Let's move on to our next topic. Meridian has been a very welcoming community for those wanting to start a business in the recent years. We've even seen businesses relocate from other parts of the state due to the proximity to services and housing for its employees. The businesses want to see growth continue in order to create a strong economic environment. Let's see, Teddy, Caroline, who's up for the next question?
I'm addressing it, actually.
All right.
Yeah, just playing off Sean's point, how does the city do more to attract and establish the type of jobs and industry to Meridian that would help support the cost of living to its residents? And Mr. Borton, we're going to go to you for the first response on this.
Thank you. Really, the focus that drives the demand and for businesses to compete to come to Meridian is the city and the city council remaining focused on some of these core purposes and obligations that we have. They're very dear to my heart, and they're very serious that we've accomplished and look to accomplish going forward. It is fiscally sound and focused on the core things that our community loves for employees that work here and reside here. It's extremely safe. It's extremely well managed, sound infrastructure. Police and fire services are second to none statewide. Our park system's the best. Those are the core functions of a city, and those are all of the attributes when we talk to businesses that are looking to relocate here. It's a quality of life. It's one of the many reasons why our city's grown so quickly. There's great demand for all of these things that we've been able to provide, and we've been able to provide it debt-free. So it bodes well for our ability to provide these services going forward, and it's just going to make it more attractive for businesses to compete, to bring their employees to our community.
Thank you, Mr. Borton. Mr. Byrne.
Thank you, Sean. Great question. I think first and foremost, I think it's really important to highlight that our economic development manager in the type of work she does in attracting these businesses. I mean, it's no coincidence why businesses want to move here. We check all the boxes. We've done a great job, and this isn't because of our current council. This is long-term planning from councils of the past and former mayors that have done a fantastic job making sure that we've put ourselves in a position to be winners in the Treasure Valley as it relates to our economic development. I think, and to take it a step further, I think that keeping jobs closer to where we live, so our residents stay in Meridian and don't have to travel outside our city, solves a lot of problems. It solves a problem of transportation, making sure that our pathways are connected so that people can get to work and get where they want to go on our pathways. That takes cars off the road, and it creates more time with your families. And I think that we're more effective at what we do if we live closer to where we live. And so my hope is that we continue to attract jobs, family wage type jobs, and have these jobs closer to where our Meridian residents live.
Thank you, Mr. Burnt. Mr. Nelson.
Yes, thanks. Personally, I don't think from a business aspect that the City of Meridian is failing the community in any way. Obviously, they're very, very good and very successful at maintaining a business atmosphere for its citizens. I encourage Meridian to continue its path in maintaining Meridian as a city that can retain and attract all types of businesses. So I believe that the path that Meridian's been on as far as a business aspect is pretty solid.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Kavner.
Thanks, Sean. I know probably the easy answer is to come and say, these are all the things that we would do differently. But for this particular question, I think the proof is in our results. Meridian is that premier location to live, work, and raise a family, emphasis on work. For the first time in our community's history, we have as many people that live outside of Meridian that commute to our community to work as we have Meridian citizens who commute someplace else. I think that is a really great indicator that we're a great place to call home for your family, but it's also a great place to call home for your business. And why is that? Well, I think it comes back to a couple of the things that my colleagues have touched on. We're a safe community where you can feel safe in starting your own business. We're a welcoming community for both you and your employees. And we're a debt-free community that really focuses on the lightest hand of government. I was over at the Unbound the other day, and their slogan is that you can launch a business with your library card. I mean, that's that small town feel with big business impact. And I think it's continuing to maintain our strong momentum of being a business-friendly community. Now, clearly, there's other things that we can continue to do. Focusing on investing in education, creating new opportunities for entrepreneurs to thrive. Those are some of the things that I want to continue to focus on over the next 4 years.
Thank you, Mr. Kavner. Mr. Hahn.
So a couple of things. One would be, we met with Cameron Ariel, and he's in charge of economic development as well. So it seems like there's a multitude of layers that the person at the city has to go through to, get leads from his people who are interested in relocating here. They're relocating their businesses. I would say, hey, just, the whoever's in charge of that function should really just reach out directly and be proactive in finding the type of businesses that Meridian would want. And then the other aspect of it, which was interesting in our conversation, was that we're running out of industrial land. So as a city council, right, we have to be careful of, well, do we want another Amazon distribution center where people are getting paid $10 to $15 an hour, or do we want a true manufacturing type business or a software company on that same piece of ground? So that's one of the important things that I think the city council can do, is to take a look at the types of businesses that want to move here and make sure that they're higher paying jobs versus just the distribution center moving things from point A to point B. But on the economic development side, I think the folks in that department can actually reach out. I think they would be more proactive to reach out directly to companies that they want to come here. So I think those are the two things that the city can do to bring more attractive jobs to the area.
Okay. Our next two questions are really something that's a little bit related to the control that the legislature has over our cities and the tools that they have. Caroline, I think you have question 7.
I do, yes. So our 7th question, and then we're going to start with Mr. Byrne for this one. So do you support the use of urban renewal? Do you support the use of urban renewal districts to develop and redevelop areas of Meridian?
Yeah, that's a great question, Carolyn. Absolutely, I do. We have many urban renewal districts. We have our existing one downtown. We have the new Union district that we just that's brand new of last year. We have a new district coming on board. Hopefully, if it gets approved, our Northern Gateway, and we have another one in South Meridian, south of the freeway at 10 Mile, and then we have another existing 10 Mile URD. And it's really important. URDs are extremely important with economic development. It provides tax increment financing so that businesses can get reimbursement with infrastructure needs. Also, it's really important because of blight. At Meridian Development Corporation, we have allocated dollars in our budget. I think it's $150,000 that local business owners or existing business owners could take advantage to fix their facades and make their businesses more palatable and more beautiful. And as a business owner, that's fantastic, where you have local dollars that support your business, that instead of spending these dollars on facade improvements, that you can actually reinvest those dollars in your business and grow your business. And so at the end of the day, I think that there are a lot of different advantages of urban renewal districts. And I think that our urban renewal agency here in the city of Meridian leads all urban renewal districts in the entire state. We do it right. We don't cheat. We don't take advantage of the system. And our local businesses have benefited greatly from it.
Thank you, Mr. Burnt. Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, I personally support the urban renewal district development and the renewal program. I've looked into 2 or 3 of the ones that are happening right here in the city of Meridian. We've all seen the results of some of the neighboring cities that are using that function to revitalize and rejuvenate different parts of their city. So as long as the strings attached continue to be favorable to the citizens of Meridian and the businesses of Meridian, I think I would support continuing that effort.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Let's go with Mr. Kavner.
Thanks, Sean. I'm a big fan of the Meridian Development Corporation and their success speak for themselves. That said, I think a URD is a resource. It's a tool that has to be deployed at the right time, in the right region, for the right reasons. Clearly, you look at the success that we've had at 10 Mile with that URD, and it definitely invites the opportunity to see if we can replicate that success throughout the course of the city. But I think it's important to know that anytime we do that, there are certain trade-offs. And I think that each URD that's been proposed has been vetted, discussed, debated at the city council. And for me, it's good to know that if a decision is made to enact or launch a new urban renewal zone, that it's went through that thoughtful debate and there's opportunities for our citizens to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Kavner. Mr. Hahn. Oop, you're muted, Mr. Hahn. Looks like you're just muted. There we go.
Looks like the general consensus is that URDs are very helpful, and I agree, as long as they, the results are as prescribed in instituting them, and also to make sure that our basic infrastructure like fire and police can cover those URDs once they are done. So.
Thank you. Mr. Borton, you're in cleanup.
Yeah, thank you. I did want to put in to Mr. Hahn's comment on the last with regards to economic development. We do a lot of proactive outreach. You met with the director of our entire department to visit about it, but Cameron, Tori, and the team there in community development does a lot of proactive outreach to recruit businesses that fit our community. With regards to urban renewal, I think it's great. And one of the examples that makes me appreciate urban renewal when done well is there's comments earlier about being a welcoming community. And I think part of that is to make sure we address the needs of everybody. And a simple tool that can be a simple accomplishment from urban renewal is sidewalks. And if you have mobility issues or vision issues, that's a big deal. And we might take sidewalks for granted, but to be able to provide that type of example of an improvement to a particular area and provide mobility improvements to folks that want to live here or work here, I'm very proud of that. And I think that's a great example of how it can be used as a positive tool for our community.
Okay. Teddy, I think your
Actually,
next question.
I do
Oh,
have
wait, Caroline. Yes, Caroline.
Sorry. No, I have a quick follow-up question. It seems like there's a consensus about urban renewal districts, but there are debates about whether tax increment financing actually works. Some people say it helps develop blighted areas, but other people say that you can find examples of blight pretty much anywhere, and the areas would have developed without TIF, and you can lose out on tax revenue. Do any of you guys, have you heard about those debates, or do you have concerns about tax increment financing?
Let's go with Mr. Burnt on this one to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, and I think my colleagues have spoke well about this. There needs to be a return on investment, right? I mean, that's what tax increment financing does. It's an incentive used in an urban renewal district to help pay for infrastructure that normally would have been paid by the developer. And so, if the developer is using TIF financing, then that's just more money that they have to make a more spectacular project, to do other things that are important with the project. And so, without getting into the weeds, yes, I do think it's important, and I do support TIF financing on different projects in the urban renewal districts that we currently have in the city of Meridian.
Thank you, Mr. Burnt. Mr. Nelson, quick response.
I think when I finished my statement, it basically led into, as long as the strings attached to urban development are still beneficial to the citizens. I mean, there's lots of people that believe, urban development also yields to congestion and noise and parking and higher crime rates and some different things like that. I mean, there's places I think that have used urban renewal and not done it well. So I think that as long as the city of Meridian is trying to maintain the lifestyle that the people in the city of Meridian are looking for, I think it can be advantageous, but you have to be a little diligent, making sure that it doesn't go too far.
Mr. Kavner, quick response.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. When I first got on the council, my view of urban renewal district was focusing solely on blight. And it took me some time and a lot of work and research to understand the impacts it can make in terms of economic development. Again, you look at the 10-mile area, that area has been incredibly prosperous because of the urban renewal district. I think it comes back to my earlier comment in that it's got to be the right project at the right time for the right reasons, and not just the go-to decision of the council or of the MDC.
Thank you. Mr. Hahn.
Yeah. So again, I'm in regards to urban renewal districts and the tax incentives. As long as the developer does what they say they're going to do, and if the end result is that it benefits the community, then yeah, I'm all for it.
Thank you. Mr. Borton.
Great answers, everybody. I don't have anything to add to the use of this tool for economic development.
Excellent. Teddy, I think we got another tax question, though.
We do. This goes to local option taxing. Your stance on that, and would you support the effort to pass legislation to allow cities to utilize it? And of course, why or why not? We are starting with Mr. Nelson here.
That's easy. I'm against raising or increasing taxes in all cases. So I would not be in support.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Kavner.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, a little bit different take. I think while I struggle with if I would ever approve a request of the voters or of the people to tax themselves, I do think that cities should be afforded that opportunity to say, this is something that's important to our community, and I'm willing to tax myself more to have that. issues like public transit immediately come to mind. If that's something that the citizens of Meridian want, I want them to have that option. Not giving, local government or the government closest to the people the opportunity to make decisions about what's best for them, I think is a misstep. I think it can be easily corrected during this year's legislative session. I'm supportive of having that conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Kavner. Mr. Hahn.
Yeah, I go along with Mr. Nelson. I'm not in favor of increasing taxes unless there's some incredibly overarching reason to do that. I'd rather look at where it's being spent versus increasing taxes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Borton.
Thank you. The question's is really two-part, and Luke hit it right on the head. The question is whether we support the legislature letting Meridian control its own fate. Should the citizens of Meridian even have a chance to ask themselves, is some particular project or purpose important to them? That's it. Now, whether or not a particular project is to be approved or not, whether or not the community chooses to support something, that's a wholly different question. But I think having the ability to control your fate, governing closest to the people is best. And I trust the citizens of Meridian to be able to utilize the tool in a very limited and necessary basis. And then we decide on any particular project whether or not it's worthy. But that's Meridian controlling Meridian's fate, and I'll always support that.
Thank you, Mr. Borton. Next up, Mr. Burnt. Your take on this question.
Perfect. It's important to note that the local option isn't imposed by a heavy hand of local government. It's not imposed by city council. It's not imposed by the mayor. I feel like my opponent may have felt that way, hence the reason of raising taxes. I'm not for raising taxes, but I am. I do believe that having the ability as citizens, I think we should have the right in a vote to determine whether or not something that benefits our community should be discussed. And it should be allowed, and the citizens should have an opportunity to vote on whether or not they like it or not. And it's whether or not local option taxing is good or bad is a completely different discussion. But I do believe that the citizens should have the right to be able to decide that for themselves in a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Burnt. Yeah, many of these things that we've talked about today are some of the legislative positions that the business community supports, and local option is definitely one of those tools that we would just like to be able to have the option. Local option taxing requires supermajority, so if something like that tool was given to us in our community, it would take 66% of the public to support something that was being proposed. Well, I want to, we're right near the end of our time, so I want to make sure that we give everyone an opportunity to have their closing remarks. Let's begin with Mr. Nelson. You're muted, Mr. Nelson. Oh.
That's the first time I hit the mute button all day, so I was trying to do the right thing. I just like to say that I appreciate the time that the Meridian Chamber has put together here. I appreciate everybody, showing up, and I appreciate my opponent for being a great and gracious opponent thus far, and I'm looking forward to serving the city of Meridian if the people give me the chance, helping our participants at the Speedway understand rules and regulations, promotions, and those kinds of things through discussion and persuasion is a commonplace occurrence. And I think I could be an asset to the people of Meridian, when in the right scenario. Obviously, I think that I think that the businesses and the citizens of Meridian have have the right to their freedom of choice and their and responsibility. And I just really am looking forward to being able to defend the businesses of Meridian along with the citizens of Meridian as far as any government overreach. And I personally want leaders that lead by example and speak up on positions of liberty and freedom. The business end of things is pretty commonplace for me as well. We run our business in Meridian. We keep to ourselves. We do our thing, and we try to be successful on our own. And I just don't want the overreach out there. I know that Meridian was one of the best in the last 17 months, but I certainly am not looking forward to future instances where we have to go through those kinds of things again. So that's the type of councilman I would like to be, and hopefully that you all will take a minute and think about voting for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Also running for seat 4 for City Council, Mr. Burnt.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you to the Meridian Chamber of Commerce for this opportunity. Thank you to your staff, and thank you to your membership for all you do. And thank you to the panelists who have been asking these great questions. First and foremost, I'm very grateful for the Meridian Chamber of Commerce and its membership. We've always valued our working relationship in Meridian. I mean, you're the business community leaders. You're the business owners. You're the community leaders that we rely on and we lean on. You all know who you think are the most qualified candidates to continue with this relationship, and that's Burnt, Borton, and Kavanagh. It's crystal clear. Also, it's really important to note that as city council members, that we represent all the citizens that make up Meridian. I truly believe that every voice matters. This is the beauty of local government, the closest and purest form of government to the people. We answer directly to the people, and this type of government of the people was the type of government, in my opinion, that was envisioned by our founding fathers. And so going forward, it's important that those who are running for public office need to remember that as council members, we lead and we make decisions on behalf of Republicans, Democrats, and independents. And I want those who are listening to this forum this morning to understand that you have my commitment going forward that I will answer to all of the people, not just a segment of the people. Another important part is Meridian is one of the best places to live, work, and raise a family. And this isn't by coincidence. It's important that's important that we've had strong leadership in the past. It's important that we have strong conservative leadership going forward. And because of this, I ask for your vote. Please vote Treg Burnt, seat 4 on November 11th.
Candidate for seat 6, Mike Hahn.
Yeah. So in closing, this is, I'm not a politician. I forgot to wear my tie today. Sorry. I'm just an ordinary citizen like everyone else. I'm a business person. And I feel that being on the city council, we are beholden to the people of Meridian, not beholden to developers, not beholden to any other special interests. Myself and Mr. Nelson, our campaigns are mostly self-financed. So we didn't have to do this, but I think from different directions, we felt like we needed to do this. We felt like maybe there needs to be time for a change on Meridian City Council. So again, I'm Mike Hahn, running for Meridian City Council seat number 6, and I ask for your vote. And I ask for your vote for Mr. Nelson as well.
Thank you, Mr. Hahn. Candidate for seat 6, Luke Kavanagh. Your closing remarks.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks again to the Meridian Press, the Idaho Press, Chamber Board, all those great ambassadors that I know that are watching. I'm running because I believe in Meridian. And I've cared about this community long before election season, creating great events like the Meridian Community Block Party, being a part of Meridian Business Day, the Treasure Valley Youth Safety Summit. I care a lot about Meridian, and I want to keep it a great place for my kids, just like Meridian was a great community for me. I'm sure, like all of you that are watching, you've probably been taking notes, and you see there's a lot of similarities between all the candidates. And I'll ask you to maybe take a minute and look back on this forum, and maybe you picked up on something that I did, which is that there were 4 candidates that when they were talking, at one point or another, they touched about what they loved about our community. And I think that's telling. And to me, that says that's what's great about Meridian, that there are people that care about our community long before election season, and they're telling you about what they care. I applaud and appreciate anybody who's willing to put their name out and run for office. But I think it's imperative that in this time in our community's history, that we not only have elected officials who are educated and informed on the issues, but we need people who really care about our community. So I'd ask for your vote on November 2nd for Luke Kavanagh for seat 6. And I'd really encourage you to continue the conversation both offline and online about the things that are important for you in Meridian, because if they're important to you, I can guarantee they're going to be important to our city council. I appreciate your vote on November 2nd.
Thank you, Mr. Kavanagh. Running for seat 2, Meridian City Council, Mr. Joe Borton.
Thank you, Sean. Teddy and Carolyn, thank you for the opportunity to talk to our community here through this forum. So I'll finish and kind of wrap up where I started. Is my service here to the community has been it's been going for some time through the Chamber of Commerce, and then now as a council member. And we've heard a lot of discussions about the success of Meridian, the high demand for our community because of its safety, because of its phenomenal financial position, its public parks and open space, its low regulation. There's so many reasons why we love Meridian. To Luke's point, we truly do. And I feel a great sense of responsibility in playing a role, creating that landscape for Meridian to be successful. I've been doing this for a number of years. I've been in this community with my family, running my business, employing Meridian residents, and I take great pride in this success. I'll ask you a couple of things. One, for sure, be active in this election, folks. It's November 2nd on Tuesday. You can vote early now at City Hall. You can still vote absentee, but participate. I'd love your vote on November 2nd, Joe Borton, seat number 2. And my last plug is all the success that you hear Meridian talking about and all of the things we benefit from. We have employees that work around the clock. If you see a Meridian City employee, folks, if you've talked to them, to the 2 candidates running and you've met them, say thank you. Anytime you see a Meridian City employee, they're working their tail off to make your parks beautiful and your streets safe. There's a reason we're number 1 in every category, and it's because these folks love the community as much as I do. I'd be honored and have the privilege to continue to serve in seat number 2. Please participate, vote November 2nd. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Borton. And we'd also like to thank each of you once again for not only participating today, but for taking the initiative to run for elected office to represent the people of Meridian. Thank you again to our partners in this program, the Idaho Press and the Meridian Press. Thank you, Teddy. Thank you, Caroline. Be sure and read the story about today's forum in the Idaho Press and this week's Meridian Press. City Council elections will be, as they've mentioned, November 2nd on the November 2nd ballot. Early voting is now open and will run until October 29th. Early voting locations are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And please remember, your vote does count. The Meridian Chamber of Commerce thanks you all for participating, and this program is available on all of our social media platforms for your rewatching and sharing immediately following this program. Thank you all again for participating, and please do your part to keep Meridian healthy and open for business. Thank you.